We're at the Western Dairy Management Conference in Reno, Nevada on Tuesday, February 26th. Dr. Tom Overton with Cornell University just made a presentation talking about high components and a number of factors in feeding programs today. Welcome. We appreciate you being here. Tom, you mentioned that you've worked with, you and some of your colleagues have worked with herd groups in New York State. You mentioned that they share information, and you and your colleagues analyze some of that information, and you discovered that there's quite a range in income over feed cost, even in these groups of well-managed herds that are in the same locality. Talk a little bit about what you found and what are some of the factors.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. These groups have been interesting to us from they're very motivational. First of all, from a educational program standpoint, these are groups of 10 to 12 farms. Jason Carses and his team within Pro Dairy kind of lead that effort. They get together, they share full financials twice a year, and then they do just additional projects. And one of the projects that we've done has been this income over feed cost study. We've done it a couple different times now, and it's amazing to me how much the range is in income over feed costs, which is again is income minus feed cost or total feed cost per cow per day, and that ranges up to about $3 per cow per day across herds that are relatively well managed. If you do the math on that, whether you got 100 cows or 1,000 cows or more, it's an incredible range in terms of that metric. Things that really come back to affect that: number one, milk and milk component flow. Milk component yield accounts for about 50% of the variability in that, based on our analysis. Feed efficiency captures about another 25%. So that's simply pounds of energy corrected milk or component yield divided by pounds of dry matter intake at the herd level. So those two are 75%. And then if we throw cost of TMR pound of dry matter in the mix, we get about another 10% accounting the variation. But interestingly, our herds with high income over feed costs actually have slightly higher TMR cost per pound of dry matter. And of course their cost per cow per day is higher in terms of feed because they're making a lot more milk, so they're eating more feed, but clearly they're efficiently converting that feed to milk.
You talked about some of the feeding strategies that more sophisticated herd management is following today in terms of energy, and tell us just touch on some of the points that you made in your presentation.
Yeah, so one of the things that we see, a lot of it, forage quality continues to be key, and we have newer technologies relative to looking at fiber digestibility, looking at different fractions relative to undigested NDF or UNDF 240, commonly in the labs, that really give us a good index of in addition to some of the earlier time points, really how good is the forage that we're feeding, what's the energy value of that going to be, how fermentable is that going to be, and that really drives an awful lot at the farm level. And when herds have really good forage quality, and we know, this is nothing new, right? We know if herds have really good forage quality, boy, it's a whole lot easier to make high milk components, and if we don't have that, then it can be a real struggle.
Thank you very much, Tom. We've been speaking with Dr. Tom Overton of Cornell University. He heads up the Pro Dairy program there, and we're speaking at the Western Dairy Management Conference. This is Joel Hastings for DairyBusiness.com.